Good morning, time-restricted eaters. Good morning, the fasting method fasters. It's Monday morning. Okay, this week we're talking about time-restricted eating, TRE. But one of the interesting things about TRE, or time-restricted eating, is this isn't only something that we recommend that you do, this week or practice occasionally. Time-restricted eating is actually something that we believe would be good to be doing all the time. So what is time-restricted eating? Okay, well, it is when you are dividing up your meals and your time fasted where you're not snacking or drinking anything in 18:6 or 16:8 windows. Okay, how does this work? Well, most of us, not all of us, but most of us are down to eating about 2 meals a day. And most of us eat lunch, dinner. So that would mean when you wake up in the morning, you don't eat your first meal until about noon. And then you finish your dinner, like if you finished your dinner by 6 p.m. and you started your first meal at noon, that's 2 meals within a 6-hour window. So if you take the rest of the day and you get to include the time that you sleep, then you've got 18 hours of the rest of the day where you're not eating at all, you're not snacking at all, and you're not drinking any beverages that might raise insulin. This is important too. Which beverages raise insulin, right? Okay. Anything that's got some kind of food in it, such as anything more than a few teaspoons of cream or anything with an artificial sweetener. Artificial sweeteners raise insulin. I have a lot of people that ask me, which artificial sweetener should I use? None. None of them work. If your goal is to lower your insulin, there is not an artificial sweetener that is okay to use. They all are going to raise insulin. Why? Because they have a sweet taste, and we have sweet taste receptors that raise insulin. We taste something sweet, our insulin goes up. So that means any sweetener can make our insulin go up. So in that time-restricted eating window, when you're eating, well, let's say lunch at noon and dinner at 5, and you're done with your eating by 6, that 6-hour window, it's good to eat anything or drink anything that raises insulin at that mealtime. But for the rest of the time, from 6 p.m. until you go to bed, when you wake up in the morning, it's best not to use any artificial sweeteners. They're going to raise your insulin. So our goal here, and let me tell you, this whole program, Intensive Dietary Management, IDM, Dr. Fung, Megan Ramos, the fasting method, everything that we're teaching you is to lower your insulin. Everything. Time-restricted eating, having 1-hour eating windows, trying to finish all your meals and be done eating at the end of the day by 6 because our insulin's higher at the end of the day. Low-carb diets. All of these things are to help you lower your insulin, and of course, fasting. So time-restricted eating it's a way to begin to learn to fast, really. If you've been practicing, living the standard American diet, the Western diet, where we're drinking things that raise our insulin all the time, we're eating 3 meals a day, we're snacking whenever we want, and you're overweight or sick as a result, that's because you're always raising your insulin. Every time you snack, every time you have a meal, every time you have a drink that's sweet, or has something in it, it's going to raise your insulin. So our whole goal is to focus on lowering your insulin. Also, you don't have to be on any particular diet to belong to the fasting method or to practice fasting. But we're going to encourage everyone to eat whole foods and moderate your protein and moderate your carbohydrate, because most of us overeat carbohydrate. We overeat starches, we overeat sugars and fruits, and they all raise insulin. And, actually we overeat those things quite a bit. It's just the standard American diet. It's really what society expects of us. And, we're going against the grain. We're rebels. Am I right? All right, so time-restricted eating, 16:8. 16:8 would be, let's say you eat dinner at 6 and you're done eating by 7. You start eating at, let's add in another hour. You start eating at your meal at 11. You're done eating at noon. Try to keep your meals in a 1-hour window. But if you started eating at 11 a.m. and you finished your meals by 7 p.m., then that's an 8-hour window that you're having your 2 meals. And so that would be 16:8. The 16 hours is when you're not having anything, and the 8 is when you're having your 2 meals. So that's what time-restricted eating is. It's a really good practice up to fasting. Usually when I have a client that's brand new to fasting, we'll start by eliminating snacks and beverages that raise insulin in between, getting them on a 16:8 or an 18:6 TRE, time-restricted eating. Once they master that, Then I put them on a 24-hour protocol, which is going dinner to dinner every other day, and the other day having lunch dinner. And once they've mastered that, they're ready to try an entire day where they don't have a meal. So time restricted eating is very, very important. Some people that aren't really metabolically deranged that's me, metabolically deranged. If they don't have a lot of issues, time restricted eating can actually solve a lot of their weight issues. Some people can get all their weight off just by doing time restricted eating, so it's very important. So I want to emphasize to you guys is time restricted eating is something we want you to do all the other days that you're not doing any fasting. And you know, when I started keto, and I've been ketogenic about 6 years, when I started keto 6 years ago, all I was concerned with was eating keto foods. I knew nothing about not snacking or eating windows or time restricted eating or having just 2 meals. I mean, I had 3 meals and snacks, but it was all keto. And I still was able to lose quite a bit of weight and lower my HbA1c doing that. I knew nothing about fasting yet. If you would have asked me if I would have just narrowed it down to just 2 meals a day or even 1 meal a day or heck fasting and not ever had snacks or anything else, I would have never thought it was possible. Now it's habit. So just to let you guys know, if it seems impossible, if it seems difficult, it will become habit after a while and you'll become way healthier as a result. All right, so I think it's time for our fasting tip of the day. Fasting tip of the day. Actually, to be honest, I did not think this through and I did not come up with the fasting tip, but I bet I could come up with one pretty quickly. Let's see, tea. Okay, guys, gals, maybe you're not a big tea drinker, but there are a few teas that really help in that time frame where you're going to stop eating after dinner. Let's say you stop eating by 6 or 7 p.m. Then there's those 2, 3, 4 hours before you go to bed. Or in the morning when you wake up and you're not going to eat until 11 or noon. There's all this time to have things like coffee and tea. Well, let me tell you something about tea. There are special components in green tea called catechins. Dr. Fung talks about this. And also there's a lot of antioxidants and it's very appetite reducing. So try some really strong green tea in the morning to help reduce your appetite. Caffeine also helps reduce your appetite. And at the end of the day, I wouldn't recommend caffeine because, you know, we don't want anything that's going to interfere with sleeping. Lack of sleep causes stress, and none of us want that. So in the evening, try herbal tea. Try chamomile tea. Try caffeine-free tea. Just make sure the tea doesn't taste sweet. I've gotten so into trying different teas. I own about 30 different kinds of tea. I'll go to the store and see something new. A few weeks ago, I found a green tea with chai. That does have caffeine, so I only have it in the morning, but chai spices. So green tea with chai spices made by a company called Bigelow here in the United States. But in the evening, there's plenty of herbal teas that you can drink to relax you. Just don't put any sweetener in it. So that's my tip. Try the teas, try drinking tea during the times where you're not eating because it's not going to raise your insulin, and it's an excellent thing to have around. And Dr. Fung, Jason Fung, and Megan, they're big fans of drinking tea. Okay, guys, I will be back in here Wednesday morning with another topic and tip. You can leave comments in the comment section below. You can ask me questions. I may use it in one of these videos, but I definitely will get in that comment section and answer your questions there. Until I see you again Wednesday morning, hey, happy fasting.